Well, we have a New South Wales Origin team. I still, for the life of me, can't work out why they don't announce both teams at the same time, make it something special, especially for game one. I understand maybe for game 2 and 3, it's not as big of a spectacle, but for game one, when you got new coaches, you're going to pick a lot of debutants and all this type of thing, why they can't be announced at the same time and make a big press conference around it or something like that, which happened last year, I believe, with Billy Slater. For his first team, they actually had a press conference, announced it all, and that was when we found out. Now they just basically get leaked anyway. So, anywho, we are here to go through the New South Wales Origin team. We're then going to go through the implications that we have out of that for fantasy, and then obviously the 5 things I learned, the fantasy tip of the week there. So let's firstly go through that New South Wales team, and congratulations to a couple of our new debutants there, and one of them we thought was a very high chance of happening, and that is Dylan Edwards, right? So him coming back into that side is obviously great news for Tedesco owners in fantasy, but we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, congrats to Edwards. Hopefully he doesn't get injured again and misses this game. That's for sure, because he definitely deserves his spot in the side. And then our second debutant there going to be Connor Watson. So a big congrats to him. And his play has been absolutely incredible. And he obviously covers a truckload of positions there. And we'll go through the team from top to bottom and give a little rating as to how, if you think it's better or, who's missed out and all that kind of thing as well. So Edwards coming in, I think he deserves it at this point. Obviously, Blues lost game 1. Not a lot can be said on that, given they got a send-off and, just things weren't going to work out from there, unfortunately. But with, Blues kind of struggling in recent history, Edwards playing great. I understand picking him in this side, and a very Panthers backline, obviously, with Edwards, To'o, and Crichton. To'o and Crichton, 2 of the informed wingers and centers in the comp right now. Latrell there, probably the most informed player in the comp over the last 3 weeks anyway. He's been absolutely spectacular. So welcome back to Latrell into this side, and I think he was a must-have in this side. If we're talking must-haves, Latrell on that left-hand side there, he's going to be incredible. We'll make sure Luai gives him some pellet, that's for sure, and gets him over that line, hopefully, for the Blues there in a return game and improved, and a win in game 2. I'm actually going to tip them as well this time, I'm pretty sure. Although I don't normally do that. Anywho, Lomax has been awesome as well, so definitely deserves his spot back in this side. We see Jerome Luai keep that spot, and he continues to dominate at 7 for the Panthers, and I do think he deserved to keep his spot, given how well his recent form is in the last sort of 6 weeks there. So Luai keeps his spot. Unfortunately, Nico Hines loses his spot, and obviously out of circumstance, we had likely Moses going to be the 7 in this side if he was to get back early and play in round 12, which was the news circulating around. There was some news circulating around that Connor Watson would have been making this side as well if he didn't get injured. So that's happened in this second game here. After the loss, obviously, and Hines not playing perfectly, yes, with 12 players, but just, it happens, right? Something I was saying in the group chat before after watching, the Test season 3 is that Mitch Marsh was actually, he was hated on by the Australian public. He kept getting picked and he wasn't performing, but they kept picking him, and absolutely wild that your whole nation can be against you just for, not performing well. Like, he's a great guy. Didn't do anything wrong on that sense, in that sense, but it's happened similar to that with Hines, just the unluckiness of it all. Like, it just hasn't worked for him, and then I think maybe at a later date it'll come right for him, and he'll actually get a chance to play, whether it's 6 or 7. I think he could really work out as a 6, given he's a good runner of the footy and good with the short ball, and he can obviously direct one side as well, kick if you need him to, obviously, as well. And I think, at 6 or 7 one day, he'll get his opportunity, and that's, and he'll actually perform really well. And that's what happened with Mitch Marsh over the last couple of years as well in the cricket side of things. So, I think that Moses deserves this chance. His Eels, unfortunately, the last 2 games have performed pretty poorly, but we know that Mitch has that terrific kicking game. He has a good running game as well. He'll kick good goals. Hines has been kicking really well at club level as well, but we know that Moses has a little bit more of that big game experience. Obviously, he has played well in Origin, and we need a win this game. So I understand Moses being in there. Jake Trbojevic, captain again. Congrats to him on his second appointment of captaincy, and likely he'll get more minutes this game. So last time in game one, he was meant to, but just the way that the game panned out, they didn't get him back on there until right at the end, obviously. Reece Robson in at 9. I think it's a good decision. He was probably our best in game one outside of Lomax, so deserves his spot again. And Watson will be cover for the hooking position, which will be good. Payne Haas accompanies Jake Trbojevic in the front row. I think that's obviously the best selection in that front row forward rotation there. You've got Martin, who come back and played today, which was good. And then Angus Crichton partners him as well. So very good back row with Cam Murray back in the 13 jersey. Unfortunately, we do lose Cam McInnes, who I think he had a pretty good game in game one. And he's very unfortunate to lose his spot. But at this stage, when Murray's returning, you need a 14, a utility of some stretch, and Connor Watson covers plenty of positions. You then have Isaiah Yeo, I think, needs to be there. Olakau'atu to create a bit of punch there, and then Spencer Leniu through the center of the park. It's I understand that there was less of a need for Cam McInnes, so unfortunate for him, and obviously his partner in crime at the Sharkies, Nico Hines, that were the two guys, unfortunately, that left this side. So that's the only real omission here would probably be Matt Burton, but if you're not going to be selecting him at center, I don't think he's going to overtake Jerome Luai. And then if Connor Watson's your 14, I think he's a great 14 at that. Where do you put him? You could slot him in at like a 15, potentially, but then you're missing out on one of those forwards again, and you want to get that fair bit of punch. And unfortunately, he's actually missed the 18, 19, and 20, so it doesn't have to be in camp. He's done the camp last time, and they keep Mitch Barnett in there. I think he's next cab off the rank if any of those guys goes down, and obviously McInnes is going to be there for some more experience as well, along with Luke Keary. And it's interesting to note that Luke actually, he's going to play even at 20th man. He'll hopefully be good to go to play round 16. So obviously usually the top 18 that miss out. Mitch Barnett, would be playing this week. So anyone that jumped on Mitch Barnett, he's unfortunately going to be missing this match for the Warriors in round 16, but McInnes has a bye, and then Luke Keary doesn't. So I think that Luke will get back to his Roosters there. But I really, really like this side. I think it's probably like a 9.5 out of 10 as to what you could have selected. Like, I think Edwards is the right choice at this time. You could pick him or Teddy, that's fine, but I think Edwards, it's good to give him a chance. The rest of the back five there, I think, is absolutely perfect. You couldn't pick anyone better. Obviously, Bradman Best had a good little outing at times, a little stretch of that game today, and did a good job, but I do think you can't really pick anyone better. Luai and Moses, for where we're at, it's probably Luai or Burton. I think you could pick at 6. Hines at 6 in that type of role, like he doesn't play it on a weekly basis. You probably want to see it a little bit more and not in like a do-or-die match to pick him. So I'm happy with Luai there on that that left-hand side with Edwards out the back, which likely plays a little bit more on the right-hand side. So there's that. In terms of your middle forwards, the only thing that I would have mentioned was potentially getting Burton in there, but I just don't know how you'd get it. And I think McInnes is the correct one to go. Hudson Young obviously misses out as well. They just didn't really have a correct spot for him last game, and they've got Olakau'atu as that edge backup, and Cam Murray can play some edge as well. Connor Watson can come to 13 along with Isaiah Yeo. He can play through the middle. He can play at 9. He can play 7. If you had to throw him out in the outside backs, he'd be fine. He's a fast, smaller body, and tackles really well. So defensively, laterally, really, really good at that front. And he's coming off an injury, but it was a throat injury, not like a leg injury or something like that. So I do think they're covered really, really well, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out in Melbourne, right? So at the MCG, which is going to be plenty of fun. This coming Wednesday, but in 2 Wednesdays time there, we will see the Blues up against the Maroons, and you've got the Maroons at $1.58. I do think this is a much closer match here, and they obviously have so much to play for to get it back to 1-1 back in Queensland for the third one. So that's the the news just from a footy perspective. And from a fantasy perspective now, obviously, thank bloody goodness that Latrell Mitchell made it for my team's sake. It was a pretty tough day on the fantasy side of things with Ruben Garrick, and Brayley obviously got benched. Thankfully, he scored fairly well for a 40-minute effort, but Garrick with that situation there, I'm not happy with that at all. Obviously, copped a stray foot, which we can't do anything about, but that second one there, he tackled him with his chest and his head. Like, it wasn't even close, man. Like, and he gets no nothing happens for it, and you just get a bloke that's concussed, and obviously affects all of us, and just affects him and his livelihood. Like they're the ones that, like, there's absolutely no care taken at all there. Maybe he's dropped down a little bit, but he wasn't even like gonna hit him in the shoulder or whatever in Garrick's shoulder or chest. It was always gonna at least hit his chin, minimum. And in this case, he's got his hit him with his chest on his face. So yeah, shocker on that front. But in terms of what it means here for the Origin guys, Latrell Mitchell being out, he's scored really, really well the last 2 weeks, which has been massive. But he's an out, and the big in, I suppose, is obviously James Tedesco, and I did bring him in the head-to-head side, not my main, and he's definitely someone that needs to be on a lot of people's radars coming into this week, if you can possibly get him for sure, because he's going to be an incredible player over the next 3 weeks, obviously 16, 17, 18, and then for the rest of the season, unless again Edwards happens to get injured in the lead up to this one, which would be absolutely devastating. That's for sure. So really, it's Tedesco and Mitchell, one bad, one good, obviously, and there's a few people that have both. So yeah, you kind of got some luckiness in one, and then obviously unlucky in the other, with Latrell getting picked. But his form was undeniable. You could not keep him out of it for sure. Moses, really the only thing that'll do for you in this scenario is him obviously backing up in round 17. So if you did pick him up, he was missing this week anyway. Reece Robson, same deal. He was always going to make it. They got a bye this week anyway. Crichton, we knew he was going to make it. Cam Murray, I suppose, if you were jumping on him. There's that. Maybe David Moale, Keon Kolomatangi, obviously get a little bit of a boost this week, which is good. Connor Watson, it's a big ouch for sure for anyone who bought him last week that was hoping for his number. Obviously just for his good score, right? Like, because even if you had an extra and you're good coming into this week without having to make a trade, it's more the fact that his scoring is incredible. So that's the big one with Watson. Isaiah Yeo had a bye anyway. And then, Barnett's probably going to hurt a few people that bought him this week, although you got a cracking score out of him there. So that's really the only main implications from Origin, and the selection here is that of Latrell Mitchell, Tedesco, and obviously Connor Watson was the big one there. And just a little bit on the South guys, which is probably all we need to mention on that front. Let's get into the rest of the 5 things I learnt from round 15 there. And next section, there's teams on a good run. You wouldn't believe this, but Bunnies, right? 3 in a row, doing great. Storm, they're actually 4-1 in recent history. And so are the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 4-1, and we'll get in and have a look at the ladder in a second. But what? The Cowboys are on a run right now. They've obviously had some easier teams leading into the bye period. They got over Roosters the other day and then picked up a win here against the Raiders as well. So they're on a little bit of a good winning streak there. Well, a positive record, which is awesome for the Cows, but unexpected, that's for sure. But the Bunnies, obviously, with Latrell at the helm, they've been killing it, so it'll be very interesting to see how they play this week, if they can continue to go well, just like the Warriors have been. I would have had the Warriors on this list as well, but they had a pretty tough defeat there against the Storm there yesterday, but they're on that list firmly as well, having won 3 of their last 4 as well, and we're on that 3-game win streak, which was awesome. But the Storm, I just wanted to mention them, given they are absolutely crushing at the moment. So let's move to that ladder there, which is going to be helpful for this discussion as well. So the Storm, just have to shout them out, given their 10 wins and 3 losses. Their percentage is absolutely incredible there. They just continue to win, and they are clear of the ladder leaders. They are clear at the top of the ladder. The Storm are by 2 points over Panthers, and obviously the Sharks there with 10 wins, but they've only had the 3 losses so far. So congrats to Storm, and they just continue to find ways to win, even when they aren't playing well. For the Cowboys there, they've won 4 of the last 5, as I said, and they come into their first bye of the season, if I am being correct there. They're the only team here that's played 15, and really, really important now that they can obviously get a little bit of rest here in round 16, and then heading into round 19 as well when they get their next bye. They're coming in with 8 wins and 7 losses in 10th position, but obviously with a couple of byes in the next few, and not the worst little draw coming up after that. They could easily sneak into this 8 for sure. So Cowboys, after a couple of good wins for them, especially that Roosters one, and then Raiders here away from home, really, really important for them and their the rest of their season to come. But just wanted to do a little ladder check there, and obviously Storm, Panthers, Sharks all doing great things with 10 wins, 3 or 4 losses. Great stuff. Dolphins have really put them into a great position, and potentially being able to rest like a hammer after Origin this week. That's probably next week. That's probably the big thing that I'm thinking of anyway, as a Trey Fuller owner. But yeah, it's definitely something to note that they are in a position now where they can potentially rest their Ferrari in hammer. And yeah, there's probably not too much else that kind of stands out for this team, apart from being able to give guys a little bit of a rest here and there, like even guys like Plath, who I own as well. Just being able to not run them into the ground and make sure they're good to go for finals series, finals time. If players have any niggles, they'll be able to get some restings into them. That's probably the biggest thing I'm taking from this start from the Dolphins there, 8-5. And they're obviously going to play, they do miss 18, but they play the big couple of major buys, and they might be able to sneak a couple of wins in those matchups there, obviously without Hammer, but Fuller going to the back there and not much else changing. Roosters have a little bit obviously been up and down. Still third favourites there to win the premiership at $6, tied with that of the Storm there. And then you've actually got the Broncos still at $6.50, which they're really, really struggling right now. They're on the slide, and they're really the worst team in the comp right now outside of Titans in terms of losing streaks for sure. They've lost 3 in a row now, I believe, and won that one before to keep them at 1-3. Most recent streak there, that's for sure. But yeah, Roosters have been solid on and off. They're slowly working out, but I think for them being able to sit in 5th, much better than where they have been in the bottom 8 in recent history at this time. Years anyway, recent years. And they're in a good position to strike and try and push for that top 4, because that obviously right now that 4th spot is really up for grabs from all of these teams here, all the way down to really the Dragons at this point in 11th, which is crazy. Only 1 win different to that of the Dolphins right now, but 4 points difference given the lack of buys that a couple of these teams have had. So there you go. That's the Roosters at the moment. Dogs are playing really, really well. I'm actually going to expect them to make the 8 this year. Where it will be in the 8, 5, 6, 7th, 8th, I'm not sure, but they are playing incredible at the moment. They are able to get through even when the team has injuries, and it's been great. Raiders there, sitting in a really strong position. 7 wins, 6 losses. So impressive for the Raiders. Obviously, a really tough loss for them against the Cows on the weekend. They would have loved that one to sneak themselves up to sort of 5th there, just behind Dolphins on points differential there. I can't believe they're negative 55, but how that works there. Roosters are 143 with the same points, which is just crazy. Almost 200 difference in points. Seagulls just continue to kind of, tread water and do okay. 7 wins, a draw, and 6 losses there for them. Pretty solid. They're playing better right now than the Broncos. Cowboys, you can almost even say, are playing better than the Broncos. They're winning games that, they shouldn't have, and Broncos can't even get close to a good win at the moment at all, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the Broncos. Cowboys, we've spoken about them a bit. Dragons, kind of on and off, and obviously you almost got the win today. Probably should have, to be fair, against Manly. Warriors really need to sort things out. It hasn't been great. Knights kind of been really pretty solid, to be fair, without Ponga, but finding some losses in recent history now. Bunnies on the bounce back, but you'd find it hard pressed for them to make Origin. Obviously, with Origin make the finals now with Latrell being out for this week, and we'll see. Hopefully, he can stay on the park, and if he does, I think they'll beat a lot of these teams and maybe move their way up. We'll see how we go. And Eels just can't work it out at the moment. Tigers with a win on the weekend, but still not great at all. That game against the Titans wasn't great. That is for sure. So that's the ladder check. And my predictions, they're for sure. All right. Number 5 there, and the last one, the Experienced Spines. They won this week. So there was a couple of slightly different results in that of the Dolphins. You'd say their spine compared to that of the Sharkies, it's a little bit less. Just a little bit, though, because you've got Kennedy's played plenty, so has Blake Brayley. Trindle's played a little bit, and Hines played a fair bit as well, and Dolphins are fairly similar to that. None of them are straight rookies. Obviously, you've got Isaiah Katoa running around. He's a second-year player, but they're all in there. They've all played enough, so that was a fairly close one, and was by far the best game of the weekend. The closest, but best quality for sure on that front. You saw the Cowboys with their more experienced spine get up. Same with the Bunnies over the Broncos without Walsh They had Jock Madden instead of Reynolds. That was massive for them. Tigers just having Appy, I think, was really helpful. A younger Appy compared to Kieran Foran, and then to have Aiden Caesar, who's a very experienced half, and Buller's second year now, but improving. They had Talon De Silva, a youngster, but they were able to have the most experienced halves pairing. So that was the interesting one as well, but two really poor teams. The Storm with their slightly more experienced, I'd say, spine, as we know, except for Sua, who was the action-packed man. But yeah, the Warriors kind of bottled this one, unfortunately, after starting really, really well, and Storm just got on a roll. Roosters definitely a more experienced spine on them, for sure, especially with the way that Connor Watson's playing at the moment. But yeah, Kiri and then Walker, obviously, in his sort of third or fourth year now. Eagles, obviously DCE, the big one. He out-dueled Ben Hunt there. Luke Brooks has played for a long time, for example. And then you had the Panthers with their spine with some youngsters, obviously. But, Jerome Luai being able to out-duel, Jack Cogger, for example. And you got Fletcher Sharp at the back, who played incredibly well. That's for sure. An egg on my face for not grabbing him in fantasy. But, yeah, that was the big note on that front. All right, let's get into the fantasy tip of the week to finish this one off. So last week we did speak about being thankful if you got through round 14 with no injuries to your key players. My one was hope that Atkinson keeps his spot. Brayley starts again with Galvin out, and that was just me hoping that, and Atkinson didn't keep his spot. Brayley did not start again. Thankfully, he did score okay. But it was the thought was to focus on minimal trades to get 17 on the park. Keep Origin plays this week, then reassess next week when they miss. So a few of them actually did pretty well, and a few of them were pretty poor on that front there for sure. But yeah, that was last week. How things changed. So what a crazy week it was. And for a non-bye week as well. Absolutely wild how that played out. So 5.3 is the average trades left in the top 1,000. So unfortunately for myself, using 3 this week, I'm down to 6, and I'm definitely not in the top 1,000 with how this week played out. But what that does mean is you've got 13 to use for 12 rounds. That's a lot of people. 13, 14, 15, 16, let's say there. So a little bit over 1 a week. A lot of people are less than that, so less than 1 a round once we get the 8 in round 20, guys. At the start of round 20 is when we get the 8. Keep seeing that question being asked at the start of round 20. So, crazy. It's just gross for everyone. It really is. So just try, for round 16, just try and get 12 on the park this week. If you've already got 13 or 12, don't trade. Just save them. I won't be trading this week, personally. There's going to be temptations to go and try and get a Tedesco and these types of players that you may not have, like myself. But I just don't think you can trade this week. I think if you got 13 on the park in round 16 here, you are going to make ranks. It's no doubt about that. You'll make ranks this week, unless the highly owned player that you don't have is the captaincy option and gets 100. I think that's the only way that you'd happen to lose ranks or hold ranks this week if you've got 13 on the park. So right now, it's survival. It's survival of the fittest, that's for sure. So all I'm going to say is good luck, everyone. This is definitely the hardest season in my 15 years of NRL fantasy. Since I was, 14 or something like that, I've been playing. And yeah, I've never seen the amount of injuries and outs certain weeks. Just the ability, the difficulty of actually being able to field 17 on a week-to-week basis. And I very much hope that we do end up with either an emergency player or 22, 23, 25-man squads, obviously like Supercoach do it. That would be very, very helpful. It would actually keep a lot more people around for the length of the season as well. Or some more trades or something like that. I think that would be fine too if you had a certain amount of trades each week. Work it out. Just a little bit more just to keep things going. But obviously by that, when that comes around and they make those changes, then we'll have a much lower injury-riddled season. But the way it's footy, but it's not going to happen, is it? Where you just have a very low injury rate across the season. But there you go, guys. That's the Origin fallout. My analysis of the team, obviously, in that one as well. And the fantasy tip of the week, 5 things I learnt. And just a quick shout out to the Australians. Obviously, Travis Head and Marcus Stoinis absolutely dominated, chasing down that, or helped with chasing down that score of Scotland, and actually does help England a little bit, but just keeps them, those guys in good form. And that's exactly what we want going into the second stage of the tournament. So yeah, good luck to the Aussies, and we'll end up with a new cricket video very, very soon. So thanks for being here, guys, and hopefully I'll do a little announcement. I'm going to do a Q&A, a live Q&A on YouTube this week. So I'm looking forward to that, guys. I hope to see you soon, and we'll catch you in that next video.